Good Lord. Hey now. Woo. Well, good morning, everybody. So, I am headed to our dear lease, the company lease. Apparently, we're going to change leases this year. And so, but they forgot to tell the guys, so we wound up having to all get together and grab all this shit and take it off the lease so that the next occupants could participate in the lease. So right now there's a group of us headed down there, but I got a good hour at least. Good morning, folks. Who's that? Oh, nope. And oh, hey, Monique. Good morning. How goes it up north? I gotta tell you, the sunsets out in West Texas are really pretty, and the sunrises too. The colors are awesome. Hey, Stuart. So I pulled all my stuff, and you guys know I travel a lot, so all my stuff is modular. So even though I have a get-home bag in my truck, which I need to upgrade because the bag's like a janky bag. It's a really janky bag. I mean, it'll work for me. I'll make it work, but it kind of sucks. I need to get something fancier. But I basically pulled apart my park pack and reassembled it to a wrench pack and then added a belt. Cold and financially very shady. Ooh. Are you referring to like the country in general? Because it's really weird shit going on down here too. Yeah, banks are just closing. They're just randomly closing, and I'm showing up. And even if though I don't necessarily, hey Texas, I don't necessarily, hey Heroic, what's going on? I don't necessarily mess with that particular bank. When you come in and it's gated, and there are people, we're in West Texas, so you get a lot of migrant workers who work in the energy sector, both oil and the solar stuff. And this poor gal, she was trying to speak English to another guy, and he clearly didn't understand, and they were struggling. So, I walked over, and since I speak both, I interpreted. And basically, she's like, "Why is my bank closed?" I'm like, I don't know. It should be open, and they're just randomly closing shit. Hey, Arkansas, who else was that? I missed somebody there. Well, if I missed y'all, it's oh, there we go. Texas Red Leg. Good morning, Stuart. I missed somebody in the chat. Oh, hey, Arkansas, what's going on? Well, Arkansas, you can see out through my back window outside the guy's pickup truck. It's flat, but it's pretty out here. So anyway, long story short, banks are closing everywhere. It's really, really weird. Guys, if y'all don't watch Prepper Tribe, last night, normally he has a bunch of people on at once, and it's usually comical, right? You sit there and the boys and girls just have a good time. Last night was really good. They really, it was just him and Josh, I believe. I don't think they added anyone. And we had a lot of folks in the chat. Angry Prepper, Hudson, a lot of y'all may have been in there as well. And Prepping 101. There were a lot of folks in there, and it was some deep conversation. So if you want to kind of go follow the White Rabbit, that was a good chat they had last night. I need to shout that one out. But right now, I'm headed to the middle of nowhere. Hey, good morning, Little Boots. So the first time I went to this particular lease with the coworkers, we were getting it ready for those, high-end clients. And one of the clients was actually in a deer stand and shot at a deer, and he swore he hit it. But when he got out of his stand to get it, he didn't wait long enough, and he flushed it. Hey, Caribbean House. And the deer took off on him. So he swore up and down. He said it had to have fallen somewhere. So I left my go bag and my canteen at the camp. Good morning, Joe. And my coworker, who I'm still salty with, a super nice guy, is a good friend of mine. He goes, "Dude, we'll go out there. We'll find that deer in 20 minutes. You don't need to bring your shit." Okay, now this is West Texas. It's higher altitude than Denver. I'm sorry, than Vegas. It's high altitude, it's dry, and even though it may only be like 80 degrees, it'll suck the moisture out of you. Hey, Cat, I saw someone else in there. So anyway, we go out to find the deer. We couldn't find the deer. 4.5 hours later, I'm like, dude, I didn't bring water, and I'm fixing to either throw up on you or be pissed. So we wound up conjuring water, but we never found the deer. And then by accident, one of the guys was poking at a bush because he thought the deer had gone into like some mesquite and like little bushes, shrubs, was trying to hide in there. And he went and poked in there, and what he did was flush a javelina and her piglets. For those of you unfamiliar, javelina is kind of unique to Mexico, Texas, the Southwest. It's basically a peccary, like the ones they have in Australia and New Zealand. It's an angry little pig, and they're not pleasant, and he flushed the damn things at me, so I was like, nope, I'm gone. And so I ran off, and then I was pissed at him because I forgot the water, and he gave me pigs, and I didn't want either. So yeah, this time I brought like my hydration pack, I got my ranch belt. I actually have a Beretta under my shirt. I will not be chased by pigs this time. Screw that. Now the guys laugh because, you know, I look like Call of Duty with a hangover. And I'm like, well, no, because pigs. I showed up here from Houston. Y'all launch pigs at me. No, fuck that. No, don't need pigs. So anyway, there's a lesson there. Always bring your bag. And never assume when someone else tells you, even if you trust them, no, it's only going to be half an hour. It may not be half an hour. You may be out in the freaking hot for 4 hours. But it was a good lesson. Actually, since I had just arrived here, it was a painful lesson for a while, but it was a really good lesson to learn the climate I was dealing with. It is very flat and rocky. I'm actually wearing the boots, the Garmont boots that would go with my old OCPs, and I found they're very lightweight. They got a big sole, but they're lightweight. These were perfect boots for this environment. So no, Joe, yeah. And you see, I should know better. So even people with experience will be like, you get complacency. Complacency will cause injuries at work, and it will cause you to be chased by pigs. See, now I actually have my AR pistol, the nubby one, in the safe that is built into my truck. And yes, I installed a safe under my truck, or in my truck. It's basically the same one the cops have. Normally they're $500, but my awesome little wife Sassy found one locally for $100 because the guy was transferring away. And oh hey, Lucky, yeah, no, I'm gonna have one tonight. I have 6-shooter. Hopefully, if we can get our schedules aligned, 6-shooter homesteading will be on this evening. If I don't need to push it again. And I wanted him to share some of his thoughts on how he's doing. He's got chickens and goats, and he's got crops. He expanded his property, and he's a really good guy to watch. And he's got a family, right? He's got 2 little girls and the missus. So he's in it for the long haul. Like he's lined out. He's almost to where I think he's pretty close to being self-sufficient. But yeah, Lucky, I'm actually driving to a lease that we got to clear all our shit out of a deer lease. And so all the guys from, or group of guys from work are going there. And I was like, this seems like a good time to say good morning to everyone. So I think Lucky was on. Lucky, were you on the chat with Tribe last night? I'm staying away from. Yeah, so Joe, to your point, the pistol's my nubby. Actually, if I wanted a full-length barrel, I have a Kel-Tec with a folding stock that is not much longer than, once you fold it up, it's not much longer than the AR pistol. I found, so we actually played with it. 50 to 100 yards, I'm more than accurate with the nubby. But you're absolutely right. If I want to throw something way out there and I don't have a can on the end of that barrel, I'm going to lose barrel length, and I won't burn all the powder, and I'm going to lose velocity. So, but for my purposes, which would be within 50 to 100 yards, this will be perfect. Plus, I'm going to hump it around out here if I need to. So, and it's loud as shit. I mean, if I don't hit my target, I'm going to make it deaf, in which case that works too. I need to, Joe, I'll send you a picture of it. That's the Frankenstein one I may have mentioned in Discord, that I got the parts from everywhere, and I didn't think it would work, but I took it to the range and it worked really well. So I'm not sure how I did that, but I did. So, yeah. So folks, right now, if you hadn't noticed, Russian banks are taking a dive right now. They're really bad. They were bad yesterday. They're worse today. But this is a good example of what happens when the financial institutions crash, right? Everyone went for money. The exact same thing happened in Berlin during the Great Depression. It also happened in, happened in the US as well. But it happened in Venezuela. People ran for the cash. Joe, the Kel-Tec, it's kind of my hiking rifle because it's so light, but it's all polymer bodied. And I'm hesitant to use it where I might need to get rough with it. Although I saw one guy, he threw it in freezing water, he shot it, he smacked it on the ice, he skidded across sand, and it held up. So there's actually a YouTube of a guy who bought a Kel-Tec to try to break it. And he wasn't able to do it, so that was kind of impressive. But yeah, today I went with the shorty because I figured that would be something I could discreetly hide in that safe I got in the truck. But what we're seeing in these other countries, especially Russia, is the same thing we saw in Venezuela. We saw it in, we saw it here and in Germany, especially during the Depression, is people are running for cash. The problem is there's going to be, in a case like that, the inflationary effect's going to be quick. So while the cash is still good, they probably need to go and buy what they need immediately so that, this thing's crooked, buy what they need is while the money is still worth something. Because if they don't, the ruble may be caca here in another week, if not already. This going to be, I get what the sanctions are supposed to do. My fear is that if the sanctions cause desperation, then Russia may react as a cornered animal, as opposed to coming to the table. Like, it could backfire. So that's my big concern. Tribe actually pointed out if Putin wanted to really make a statement, he could fire a tactical nuke in the region near Chernobyl, a small one, just to scare the shit out of everyone, but that could spin out of control. I will say I know some Russian expats who swear up and down that Putin's not acting right. Like, there's something, this is very uncharacteristic of an old calculating KGB guy to be doing this. There's something else going on. You know, we're seeing all this video footage out of the Ukraine, but whenever we've gone into a country, the new sanctions from Switzerland. Oh, I didn't read about those in detail yet, Monique. I'll read up on those tonight. But yeah, the more they get hit by international sanctions, the more it's going to affect the people. But again, it's like I said in that short video, it's like the little kid pushing the shopping cart, and then he loses control of it, and now him and his family are chasing the cart down the parking lot. I feel the same way about this. The sanctions could force change. Oh, I couldn't see what Lucky said. Did that with the nuke, everyone else. Yeah, and that's exactly where I'm going with this. The sanctions could cause them to come to the table. It could cause the people to overthrow the government, or it could cause them to react in a horrendous manner, in desperation. Same thing with the nukes. If he feels cornered, he goes that route, somebody pops even a tactical nuke, 1 kiloton, just to tear up like 3 square miles of shit. A nuke going off in a battlefield will immediately cause everything to freak out. And yeah, that's kind of concerning. For those of you in rural areas, I'll have to send you the link separately. I have a map of likely targets in the US and then the direction of the wind. And like if you put in your city, it tells you your likelihood of getting fallout from somewhere else, which is awesome and horrifying at the same time. But again, that would be a really extreme case. I would, though, watch what's happening on the streets of Russia, because we're only seeing stuff out of the Ukraine right now, right? We're seeing the people, Molotov tanks, and there's fighting, but we don't see anything from Russia other than some interviews on the street of young Russians saying, we don't agree with the war, and then they get arrested. I don't understand. When we went into Iraq, when we went into Afghanistan, we always targeted anti-aircraft, we targeted logistics, we targeted comms, at least to some extent. And I'm wondering if A, is Putin not targeting those things because they want to take the country intact, which would make sense. B, is he failing to because the defenses are better than they were expecting and they're getting ate up? Or 3, are they trying to hack it and the Ukrainians are getting outside help, not just missiles? For instance, are the Russians, because I was expecting Russia to hack the shit out of the Ukraine, and it hasn't happened. So I'm wondering if, I don't know, maybe some agencies or some entities, the UK, the US, Israel, whoever, is assisting Ukraine in staying online so the story can come out. Because I'm seeing nothing from Russia other than food lines. I'm seeing nothing. And it's just weird. Because normally you'll see a little of everything, and we're not seeing. It's almost like that rah-rah stuff from World War II, the black and white videos where it would be like, and our troops have gone into Normandy, and it's all patriotic. But, yeah, I'm curious to see what those sanctions are, because that could definitely... And Switzerland's supposed to be the neutral country, but if the UN as a whole is screaming bloody murder, that might make a change. What I find funny, politically, domestically in the US, you're hearing from Tulsi, and Tulsi's not a fan of Russia. You're hearing from Manchin, even hearing from Pelosi, and I kind of agree with some of the stuff she said more recently about, we need to deal with this shit, and I agree with her. You're hearing stuff from the right as well, and they seem to kind of be on the same page. I've heard nothing from Google Eyes up in Queens. The bartender, nothing. Her mouth has been shut. And Bernie, but I think Bernie sleeps a lot. Oops. Kind of like a, don't worry, I didn't get in an accident. That was my phone falling off the stand. Hard anti-gun government. Well, Joe, that's what, during the Cold War, that was one of the biggest detriments to anyone invading us. I mean, think about it. If you wanted to do a land invasion, you'd have to come from 2 directions, either through Canada or through Mexico. Canada would fight, and the Canadians have a smaller military, but they're good. So the option, maybe take the Baja Peninsula and come up through Arizona and Texas. Of all the states, try to come through Texas and Arizona. You're going to have cowboys and rancheros on horseback like the Afghan rebels throwing grenades at the BTRs. I mean, yeah, it would be terrible. Nobody wants to invade this country because the only options are ugly. But yeah, watching the Ukrainians hand out crates of Kalashnikovs and rocket launchers, and the people are lined up. So there was an article, I don't know if you guys saw it last night, that what they're doing, since they can no longer be organized on a national level. Hey, D9, good morning. They're no longer organized on a national level because comms are getting disrupted to a point. What they're doing is the recruiters are going to the regions, to the cities, the towns, and enlisting people, throwing them in, giving them body armor, Kalashnikovs, ammo. They're just handing shit out and then telling them defend your town and then help the town next to you if they need help. And so basically what Ukraine has done is create dozens, if not hundreds, of ad hoc regional militias and set them loose. So they're operating almost autonomously, targeting the Russians, but they're not centrally integrated, and each of these militias has Ukrainian military or special forces embedded in them. So, I mean, that's like the perfect insurrection. That's a perfect resistance almost right there, where you have large groups of civilians being trained by very competent specialists and completely autonomous from the other groups. So I'm curious to see how that's going to play out, but it looks like they're giving the Russians absolute hell right now. Russia will eventually win, sadly, over attrition, but the reports from the president of the Ukraine said that right now their unofficial tally is over 4,000 Russian soldiers have been killed so far. That's not an insignificant number. It's unfortunate it's come to that. There have been a lot of civilian casualties because, unfortunately, the after effect of the militias coming out is now the Russians think everybody's the enemy, and so they're shooting up everything now. So, yeah, and then now civilians are getting caught in the crossfire who aren't involved. So it's going to be tough to see which way this goes. But this was not an easy win at all for these guys. They technically haven't taken... They've taken one or two of the main cities. Yeah, Joe, absolutely. Absolutely. So now there is a piece of news out from the Kudi front. Some researchers, and I've seen it on a couple of news channels, but I'm trying to cross-reference it. I didn't get a chance to do so. Have found in the Rona DNA, there is a sequence, a very specific genetic sequence that was patented by Moderna. I'm going to repeat that. This is unconfirmed. I've seen it, but it's kind of fringy news. Now, the New York Post had an article saying investigation into DNA sequence, but they were very non-committal. There was arrest. Oh, well, lucky. That sucks for him. We shouldn't have done that. Now, was he trying to surrender the town in order to, like, prevent the people from dying, or was he just giving it up to the Russians? I'm curious. You know, I could see if they were under siege, civilians were starving or dying, and he's like, look, my people are getting killed. Let's just surrender the town because we're under siege. If he was being a treasonous douche, then definitely he should be arrested. But yeah, so as far as the Kudi, it just came out that there's a specific sequence that these researchers say is exactly a Moderna sequence that they patented, not something they discovered, like Moderna was doing science and went, oh, look what we found. We patent the research. No, they patented that sequence. And it's the same sequence that causes the infection to be so virulent. So, unconfirmed. But if that's true, and I can see like Johnson & Johnson going, nope, we just made a flu shot for the shit. I'm done. You can have that. I'm wondering what the hell happened there. And you notice it comes out right on top of this shit, right? So, when is the State of the Union, guys? Is it next week? Hey, Red, good morning. Red, I'm going to be traveling about halfway to you from where I am right now. So, yeah, that place where I got run off by the javelinas because my friend poked bushes. Knucklehead. That's why I brought the Beretta this time. Fuck that. I'm going to shoot the pig. Actually, I didn't need to. She had piglets, so she really wasn't interested in screwing with us, but I didn't need to have the pig, right? My buddy needs to not flush animals and not warn us. It's like the pig's headed towards me, and then he goes, dude, is it today? It could be. I might be. Oh, today's Tuesday. You may be right, Monique. You may be right. I'm off by a day. Or off by a week, actually. I thought it was next Tuesday. It may be today. Oh, that'll be interesting. So the truckers will be showing up. The convoy went through the panhandle of Texas. I think they're already in Oklahoma, and they're hauling ass toward D.C. The Philly, New York, and New England drivers have already made it to D.C. because their drive was shorter. And all the folks from the West Coast are almost there. I think they're going through like Arkansas and Oklahoma at the moment. So, no, Joe, but I do find it interesting that we're in this, there's this train wreck going on overseas. And we're going to have all our leaders in one place at one time. I don't know, maybe I'm just watching too many of those conspiracy TV shows. But I'll bet you security will be out the wazoo. They already put the fence up again. The ugly black fence that they had for the protests, because the truckers are going to honk and scare them. I'm looking forward to see if the truckers can honk loud enough to disrupt the proceedings, just to be shits, because that would make me so happy. That would be the most obnoxious, peaceful protest you could possibly do. So, and I'm curious, Joe. I do want to see what the Tater has to say, because I'm not really a fan of the way they're handling anything right now. This is a mess, y'all. So we'll see. Wait, what is that, Lucky? Hold on, Lucky. Okay, I thought they had removed parts of it so that they can conduct business, and now they're putting it all back up. Good. Monique, the Tater. Yeah, no, they shouldn't send National Guard. Well, when Texas sent the National Guard, they started questioning the Texas Guardsmen as to who they voted for. The commander didn't like that and called the governor, and the governor pulled the Texas National Guard. He said, fuck it. I'm pulling my people, and you can bite me. If you want them to come back, go through Congress and declare a state of emergency so you can summon the Guard, because we're not volunteering them. He pulled the Texas Guard, and I think Louisiana followed suit, and so did Oklahoma. They're like, nah, we don't like you. So, that's just stupid. Anyway, yeah, so the Tater, I don't know what he's going to tell us. Hopefully he keeps on track. I don't want the 1.5 hour speech to go 3 hours because he lost his place in his teleprompter. I'm just worried. It seems like we have a Alzheimer's patient in one country and an egomaniac in the other country, and both of them have big red buttons. And that doesn't make me feel good. It's kind of freaking me out, to be honest. So, yeah, so we'll keep an eye on this speech. What is that? Yeah, no, they didn't go back. They won't. They're done. Florida won't. I don't know where they're getting the National Guard from. It's probably going to be local units like Virginia, Pennsylvania. They'll get some small Guard units to secure, and all the Secret Service, all the other agencies will be out too. But yeah, this will be a weird week, guys. But again, if you look at what's happening in Russia, it's the same template we saw in Venezuela. when their inflationary effect went down the toilet. Runs on cash. If your inflation goes that high, you want to use cash that you can while it still has some kind of value, because there's a point where it'll become toilet paper. Actually, the toilet paper will be worth more than the dollars or the currency, the fiat currency. Since it doesn't have any kind of standard anymore, it's based on GDP. If the GDP is garbage, yeah, the dollar's worth nothing. And we've printed way too many dollars in the West, trying to stimulate the economy. So watch those patterns in Russia, because that's a really good learning opportunity for us here. The fringe minority. And you know, Red, Red, you missed it by about 60 seconds. I actually said, I went back to that reference about the kid pushing the shopping cart in the HEB parking lot, and then he eats shit and the cart takes off, and now mom's chasing the cart. That's what I feel's happening now. It's like the sanctions could have the effect of bringing them to the table, but it can also have the effect of causing Russia to react in desperation. And if that happens, that shit will escalate, because Belarus, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, and there's another country I just blanked out, as well as their bases in Kaliningrad, those guys could go hot in a second. And if Belarus decides to pick a fight with Latvia for whatever reason, we've got NATO troops there, which are the trigger groups. And I think we were chatting about this on another chat. I can't remember where, Red, but that's what I'm afraid of. It could have the opposite effect. They can squish the Russians to where they become a cornered animal, and those are the dangerous ones. You can't bring an animal that's backed into a corner to the food bowl, right? Because they're pissed. They want to bite and scratch. And the Russians have a very big bite and scratch capability, as we all know. And that kind of bothers me. Because it wouldn't, if they feel threatened, especially if the nuclear units are on standby or whatever their enhanced alert means, my fear is if you start to distribute tactical nukes, let's say in 1-2 kill a couple of miles, or just fuck up a couple of miles of area, maybe to stop a tank column, and the Russians feel like they're going to be overrun, who's to say a guy in the field, and I keep saying this, I'm going to keep going back to it, it's not the leaders, somebody in the field who's now has permission looks and says, those guys are going to overrun us, I'm going to pop a nuke on them. Okay, Red, there's a story to that guy. He's a cop. The Texas Patch Ukrainian is a cop. He was in Houston and then in Dallas to do SWAT training, right? They were trying to get their cops to the level of like our SWAT teams, and he was going to found a SWAT team over there. So he was hanging out with our boys, and he made a bunch of friends before he left. And you know, tradition, the Texans gave him like basically a box of souvenirs. Among them was that patch. So he popped it on his chest, and he's out there now. And he's been texting two of his buddies here in Texas. I'm not privy to the text, but I was looking into who that guy was. And he came here. He's actually a cop, a Ukrainian cop who came here to train with our guys so that he could bring the knowledge back. And actually, and I don't know if Heroic was on earlier. Did you hear anything from family or friends over there? I know Heroic has some extended family in Ukraine. I don't know what their status is. I actually saw one of the Ukrainian, I guess their House of Representatives. She was on ABC, and this was a younger woman. Hey, Arkansas, well, she has little kids, and she was speaking to what was going on, and the reporter interviewing her from New York over the phone said, She says, I'm a mother too. I know you have children. How are the children? And she said, I'm going to tuck them in under the stairwell, under the basement. She said the baby doesn't know what's going on, but she has a 4-year-old and a 9-year-old. And the older two, she said you can see in their face the fear. And that was heartbreaking to hear, because you could see this woman who was really tough. You could tell she's a tough girl. And she was fixing to cry. And then the reporter started to tear up also. And I'm thinking, those children. Those of you who saw that short I threw out there a few days ago of the guy videoing out his apartment window and this Russian jet goes past and hits the building next to them with a rocket and the kids start crying. Those kids will be changed forever. My fear, and somebody, I don't know if it was Southern Prepper One, God, I can't remember who it was. Somebody pointed out, we've been too many generations since the last Great War. And thanks, Hud. Thank you, Red. Too many generations since the last significant war. And we now have an entire generation who has not seen horrendousness. 10 and 2. Well, this is Texas, so it's like 9:30 right now. No, I'm just, actually it's 7:30, sorry. Oh, what the hell is that? There's like a blinky convoy over here. All right, no, that's boring. I thought it was something cool. I was going to turn the camera. It's construction. But we've been too many generations removed from things like World War II, from the Cold War, where kids had to hide under their desks symbolically to protect them from nukes. Or the atom bomb, as they used to call it back then. So we now have a generation who really doesn't understand. This is the same group of people who, for the most part, are pushing communism and socialism. And now they're seeing this. That's the truth, Hudson. And I got a story I'll email you about the Ides of March. That happened to me. But he's afraid that they keep wanting blood because they don't know what shedding blood is really like. All the wars they've seen in their lifetime was us going into foreign countries to chase some nebulous enemy, like the Taliban or the Al-Qaeda, and not something that would come home. The guy was absolutely right. I can't remember who I was listening to at the time. He said, I promise you, all these hipsters in LA, he picked on LA, he said, all these hipsters in LA will freak when they get up in the morning, go to the beach, and see tankers and freighters on fire offshore because Russian torpedoes struck them in the night and were sinking them. And he said, you want to screw up America real quick with a very low profile, go torpedo a bunch of freighters and block up the port of Los Angeles. You don't need a nuke. He said you'd screw up the whole West Coast like that. He was very pointed. I'm going to have to look and find who I was listening to. I'll look in my history or something. And that really struck me. And that's, I guess, why we should all be prepared as much as we can. Because truthfully, it's not us, right? I live near Hudson. If I run into Hudson or Catskill or Green Thumb or any of you all in the chat, well, yeah. See, in I grew up in Queens. I grew up in New York, in Queens and Brooklyn, and back then it was blue-collar folks, right? All the old men I grew up with were either Vietnam vets who were the younger guys, or they were like the old man in Gran Torino. Remember Clint Eastwood's characters? Everything he said was racist. White, black, Hispanic, Asian, everything out of his mouth was racist. That's what I grew up with. And so I had to work hard not to say those things in front of my own kids, and they learned it anyway. But yeah, I didn't do a good job, obviously. But Astoria for the win. I got in fights in Astoria. I actually grew up on another part of Queens, but Astoria had awesome shopping. If you wanted to find bougie stuff for low price, like the fake bougie, that's where you found it. Oh, sweet. Kat, you gotta send pictures. You gotta send pictures. I missed somebody else's comment. Remember the Archie Bunker? Oh God, Archie Bunker. Okay, Archie Bunker. That was my dad's friends. It was a bunch of Korean war vets. We're like, nah, that guy's a shithead. Hey, yo, vagina, go take a bath. You know, and like, and you know, you're 9 years old and somebody just called someone a genital, and you're like, what the hell? What? And then I learned it, and I'd say it in school. I'd get in trouble. It was terrible. God, I had a mouth in high school. I don't know. My kids didn't inherit the filter. I had to learn the filter. But yeah, going back to the topic before we got sidetracked, we had a queen squirrel there. We have a whole generation who've never seen this kind of hardship. And sadly, a lot of them didn't grow up the way a lot of us did. Where my dad was a Korean War vet, right? My cousins went to Vietnam. My crossing guard was a B-17 turret gunner. The old man used to tell us, yeah, during World War II, this is what we saw, and the plane caught fire, and the guys were jumping out in the parachutes, but their pants were on fire. You know, you tell that to a 9, 10-year-old, that sticks. And we could envision this stuff, and we heard firsthand. I met Holocaust survivors as a kid in New York, with their little numbers on their arms, and they tell us, yeah, you know, the Nazis did this and that. And we have a whole generation now who think the Holocaust is fake, and that scares the crap out of me, because they will not handle hardship very well, which is why all of us prep, right? Because, yeah, and not all of them, they go to extremes. They're either really on board with what I'm saying, or they're completely clueless. But, you know, yeah, I'm not worried. Like, I run into Red in the middle of, you know, Armageddon. It's like, what's going on, right? Because we're on the same page. You know, Red, Lucky, D9, Red Leg, we're all in Texas. We're all like, hey, you know, I'm not worried about the other preppers. But I am worried about the people who don't know, who are still saying, why are you Mylar bagging rice? The Rona is over. And now they're freaking out from the war, and I'm sitting here going, well, the same preps kind of apply to everything, right? There's certain baseline things you can do that pretty much go to any situation. First aid kit, flashlights, food, water, pew seeds, right? These are standard things. They will apply to almost any situation. So why are you not learning? And those are the ones that worry me, is the ones that are and literally we're buying the toilet paper up in the store, freaking out. Right, exactly, Red. What we have to watch out for is inventory. Make sure we're rolling that inventory to get it out the doors. But we're still seeing people. Now, the one thing is, I don't know what happened, but Instagram, I have a lot of South American followers who now Argentina and Peru have big prepper communities, which I did not know until recently. And they've been reaching out to me, which is good. I can type Spanish, although my phone and computer keep trying to make it English, so my Spanish typing looks really weird, because it corrects words that should be spelled differently. But on TikTok, I've got a lot of Gen Zs following me. And some of them message me and they're freaking out. I mean, they're absolutely having a heart attack. And you guys have seen some of my TikToks that I transfer to YouTube. And I'm like, okay, be cool, follow basic steps, right? I'm trying to bring it very fundamental, because there's a lot of freaked out people on that platform. They look at Venezuela. Yeah. After the last 2 years, everyone should be. You would think And you know, you don't have to be crazy. I had one person say, I don't have money. They were on a fixed income. I get messages now, but randomly on different platforms. And they said, I'm on a fixed income, so how do I do this? So my recommendation was, look, if you're gonna buy rice, find someone with a Costco card, get 2 or 3 people, split it to where you can afford your portion, and then divvy it up. Half goes in storage, half goes to daily use, because you're spending less per pound. So you should, in theory, get more pounds for your dollar of rice or whatever. Hey, Jennifer. And then you can split it up and just take half. If you go buy the extra 2 cans of green beans, but put the 2 cans separate. And I've emphasized, put it separately. You guys know this. Most of y'all are experienced preppers. Put it separately. So you have it in a different spot, so you're not overlapping. Refuse to admit there are problems or shortages. And Arkansas, that's exactly my concern. They're going to refuse to acknowledge it until they can't feed their kids, and then they're going to freak out. Like I said, during the Texas freeze, my daughter and her fiance were in the apartments by the Med Center downtown in Houston, and when the power went out, guess what? Even though it was really nice apartments, the electric locks went off, right? That's a fire safety thing. If there's a fire and power goes out, the default setting of the magnetic doors is to release the doors so people can evacuate. So it's a safety thing. Unfortunately, then they had homeless people banging on people's doors at 2 a.m. during the freeze. But she said the cell phones were still working and on and off. And the Facebook group for the apartment, she said there were people saying, Dad, there were people going, I need milk. I have 3 kids and I don't have milk. And my daughter sitting there going, we knew this was coming for a week. Why did you not simply go and get milk? Or I don't have food. We knew it was coming. So then they tried to evacuate the second night, and she said people were falling on the ice because the apartments had the apartments some of them are U-shaped. You have like that common area and then you walk to the parking lot. And they're busting their ass going down the steps. They're getting hurt, walking in the dark at 1 a.m. because they were too cold to stay in the room. And she said, Dad, I'm sitting there. I hear your voice in my head going, pendejos, why don't they have sleeping bags? And I said, yeah, exactly. They should have had freaking sleeping bags. Why don't they? She said the only family she saw with kids that was doing really well was a dad that she knew had 3 Cub Scouts. So the kids had all sorts of camping shit. And she said I could look through the window. The children had set up the dome tent in the living room, which actually is really smart. And she said they were hold on, I don't know what these guys are doing here. Oh, that was an interesting machine. Holy cow, that is the prettiest ranch house I've seen in a while. See, that's what I want. I want a ranch house away from the universe. That's really cool. By the way, I'm only halfway to where I was going. That's how long this trip is. So, in theory, I'll see the guys there before we're all done. No pigs out here today. No deer, nothing. It was cold last night. They're probably like, nope, I don't want to play with this. But yeah, and so it's the same thing. It's like we had the freeze, we had the Rona. We now, there's this big disaster in the Ukraine. Regardless of what side you sit on, it's not good. And I still see people who are in absolute denial. I think someone just said it in the chat. They don't want to acknowledge what's actually happening. And those are the ones that are going to be the problem. Those are the ones who are going to decide it's not fair that you have rice or you have food because I don't. Not that, hey, I was an idiot and I didn't heed you and now I have a problem. No, those are the ones who are going to flip out and then become very aggressive. And I've seen it during Harvey. I've seen people, or during the hurricanes, I've gone through several of them, where people will see. And where I was when we got hit by the hurricanes in Louisiana, it's a bunch of Cajuns, right? So we had so much alcohol in my neighborhood, and we were in the middle of nowhere. It's like a subdivision in the boonies. We got out the next day. Once the winds passed and it was safe, we came out, and one of the guys worked for the electric company, so he said, y'all stay in the houses, and he walked around to make sure the power lines weren't like on the floor. And he said, no, I don't see any power lines. Then he also we looked at all the houses. One house had a tree in the garage, so we knocked on their door. They didn't sleep that night, obviously, and we went, and I didn't have a chainsaw. I had an axe and a machete and some other stuff, so I was hacking off limbs to clear the door. And one of the guys brought a four-wheeler, and he had a truck with a winch on it, and they were picking up pieces of tree. But all the neighbors came out, we cleaned up, and everybody, I couldn't tell you the number of shotguns that were leaning on front porches that needed to shoot anything, but every house, just in case someone was passing by and decided they wanted to start shit, they would decide not to. But I gotta tell you, that was the best block party we ever had, because as soon as we cleaned up and everyone was okay, we started a barbecue and drank alcohol, and that went on for 3 days until the power came back. I mean, I've not been that fucked up since my last Mardi Gras. And the kids were having a blast. Kids were out in the street, dogs. I mean, it was just chaos. So, but again, it was a whole neighborhood who understood what they were doing. And so there were very little. Government people don't understand government's a system. And it's the incident and the government actually being functional, you're on your own. So, yeah, we got a whole generation out there that doesn't know but I'm seeing a lot that are, and that does make me happy, because I'm getting those calls, I'm getting those emails asking me really basic questions. By the way, to all of you who are creators out there, if you get 101 questions from people, answer them. And I know the crowd that's in my chat. I know you guys are great. I always answer them with dignity and respect, and I try to be genuine in my responses, even if I'm responding in a video. Because I've seen some folks will be very condescending, and what it does, it actually discourages them. Then they think, oh, the preppers are all assholes, and that's not the case. I don't see it a lot in the circle most of us are in. I think the crowd that all of us circle in, we tend to be a really good crowd about reaching out to each other. But yeah, I've seen people email me and said, I reached out to this creator and the guy was really not nice, which shocks the shit out of me. Why would you not be nice? But and that one guy in particular, he's on TikTok, and some of the shit he says, I mean, he's very involved in it, but when you say things like, I'm the most advanced and best creator on the platform, and I know more than any other creator out there, but you're a computer programmer, you've never worked for FEMA, you've never been Red Cross certified. Like, once upon a time, I myself was Red Cross shelter management certified. You give me a 4-person team, I could run a Red Cross shelter. I still have the paper that says I could do it. It's expired now, obviously. And I would never say I'm an expert. I've learned mainly by mistakes. So to me, it just blows my mind that anyone would be rude or say shit that's not true. But I guess some people, I don't know. Some people are stupid, I guess. Hey, Red, no worry. Yeah, in Hudson, that's the same way, right? And look, my work schedule's crazy. You guys know that. And I'll pop into some of your chats halfway through, or I'll be in the first half or the last half. Or I'll sometimes come in, go, hey, good morning, how is everyone? Give you a like, thumbs up, and I have to leave because work call. And in the 10 minutes I'm on your chat, I'll still hear. I like that. Intentionally obtuse. That should be a t-shirt too. I really need to write these down. Intentionally obtuse. Yeah, so apparently Sassy decided that it was meme day yesterday. She sends me a can of, it's called Vegemin, right? It's a spin on I Love Lucy. Vegemin has a picture of the tater on it with that look off in space. And it's in the corner, it says made with that stuff. That was the first of 12. I was like, are you not working today? You're just... She was firing them off like every 5 minutes. I don't know what got into her. I call her, she's in tears laughing at herself. She had the best time ever harassing me with bad memes about communists and leftists. It was just hysterical. I don't know if she drank too much coffee or something at work, but folks, again, the prepping fundamentals are the same. Watch what's happening in Russia. I'm really afraid these sanctions are going to have a negative impact in a way nobody's planning. That just, it bothers me. Yeah, and Green Thumb, you're absolutely right. If they don't acknowledge what's happening. Now, some of them, I really wonder, honestly, if some are afraid. If some of them genuinely believe, oh my God, if I acknowledge that this situation is happening, it becomes too real to them. I don't know if I'm conveying this right. You know, some people, like an abusive relationship, right? You deny it's abuse because you love each other, because you don't, that person, the victim, doesn't want to actually acknowledge they're being abused, because then everything they believed in the relationship comes tumbling down. And I'm wondering if some people are in denial. I'm not expressing it right, and that it's annoying me. I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. And I wonder if that's what's happening, is a lot of people see it and it's so overwhelming, they don't know. Yeah, out of sight, out of mind. Yeah, they don't know how to address it. And so it's easier to deny it than to address it. Like I said, I had a family member in Houston who opened a new business last weekend. What a time to do that. Oh, it depends on the business. Right now, because so many closed during the Rona, they may have an opportunity in their niche. My daughter just opened a business and she's kicking ass. But she did her homework, she studied her market, she studied her demographic, her cost. She's importing not from China, but from Brazil and Indonesia, and doing artisan woodcraft, and it's really beautiful stuff. And she's kicking ass right now. Like, it's really, and she found that opening. I missed what, actually, there's a lack of medical facilities, so if she can provide even like partial medical attention to people who may not be able to get in front of a doctor, or they quit, that may, but she's going to have to market herself in that area hard. All right, she should be the first word out of their mouth when they say, oh, so-and-so's sick, we're going to go to X. That's going to make a huge difference for her. But folks, yeah, watch what's happening in Russia. This is going to be a really good example of what could happen here if the inflationary effect goes down the tubes. And then again, the preps, the currency will be valuable to a point, and then you're going to have to switch gears, and you're going to have to go to the preps and the trade until something changes. No, Lucky's right. Some people, they just can't handle it. Deliver fuel to the Russians. Okay, guys, search Ukrainian tractor tows tank. So the Russians, one of the tanks, I guess it got attacked, and the crew got stuck in the mud, and the crew bailed, right? They left an APC, it was a BTR actually, or BTTM. It's that little flat six-wheeled personnel carrier with a turret. and they left it in the mud, and this Ukrainian farmer comes with a big-ass John Deere, hooks up to it, and tows it away, and they're drinking vodka going, yeah, and he tows away a tank, and then another tractor's coming for another APC. The Ukrainians were stealing Russian tanks with a tractor, and then taking them and repainting them with Ukrainian flag on the side so they don't shoot each other, and putting it in combat. I think that's just freaking awesome. But yeah, it's going to be weird seeing what happens the next couple of weeks. I would advise, and I think all of y'all are on the same page with me, we keep doing the fundamentals, right? Hey, big chap, I'm sorry I missed you earlier. Am I supposed to stop here, guys? What are we doing? There's a lot of blinking lights, but nobody seems to know what's going on. All right, whoever the flagman is here, he's fired. Oh, so those super big power lines that run through Texas, they're trying to work on those. Yeah, you can keep that shit. Nope. I'm kidding. So yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how Russia reacts to these sanctions. If anyone's resilient enough to survive sanctions, it is Russia. But it's going to hurt the people. So are we going to see them replace Putin? Or are we going to see them react badly? I don't know. In that book from General Sheriff, he actually proposed in that scenario, the war doesn't go well, and the fictitious Russian president gets removed. Really? At the power lines? I know that Texas and a few other states, after the freeze, which was embarrassing as shit, they're starting to implement the EMP upgrades with the freeze upgrades. So I've been told. I can't confirm that, but it was a power line guy said, yeah, basically what we're putting there would shut. It would the lines would fail. The lines would be the fail point. It would disconnect. So if an EMP, the electrons would hit the lines, would be the biggest antenna. Before it got to the transfer station, they disconnect. It would become a big ass fuse. So on the one hand, the power would still go down, but the transformers, the big stuff, in theory, should remain intact, such that it's simply a question of stringing up lines again. So that's interesting. I don't know, Hudson. You guys have a massive gas play in the Marcellus Shale in Pennsylvania that could feed upstate New York for 50 years in natural gas. So why they're trying to kill the fossil fuels, especially natural gas burns really clean compared to like oil or coal, I don't know. But yeah, it's guys, just keep an eye on those sanctions in Russia. I'm just afraid they may go sideways. It may have the reaction we don't expect. And let's see what Potato says this evening. I'm hoping the Tater has something good to say, because right now this has been an absolute catastrophe. This is worse than Jimmy Carter, because at least Jimmy Carter was kind of lucid. He wasn't meant for what he was dealing with, right? He wasn't. He did a lot of good stuff, ironically, after he left the presidency. But yeah, I'm wondering what this is going to do. And oil was at 96 yesterday. I'm going to check it in a little bit and see. But folks, I'm going to have to make a gas stop here. I'm trying not to let my tank go under half, and I still got a bit of a ways to go. So I'm going to make a fuel stop up here. If I have to push my live with a 6-shooter, I will put it on my community page so you guys will know. And I might do just a short solo live tonight. It depends how the afternoon goes. And oh, this is the place with the really messed up tacos. I won't be eating those today. But in any case, guys, y'all be safe, and Take care. Wow, out of service pumps. That's interesting. So they got no diesel in this part of West Texas. That's strange. Anyway, look, you guys be safe out there. Thanks for joining me on my road trip. And when I get out there, I'll try to take some videos. The country is really nice. Those of you from Texas, it's right in the mesas. So you got the flat areas right between those big mesas, and it's really pretty. And hopefully we'll get to see some critters, and not the freaking tarantula that jumped out at my buddy and gave him a heart attack, because that's not cool. Nobody likes those. But guys, be safe. Thank you, HUD, Lucky, everybody, Red, Monique, everybody for jumping in. I really appreciate you guys as always. You all be safe. I enjoy interacting with all of you, and I want to make sure we keep doing that. So take care of yourselves. Take care of your loved ones, all right? We'll see you all later. Be good.